Sentiment plays a very important role in economies, and there's no doubt. The mood and optimism in India definitely has picked up.
How do you see India's optimism being played out from an outside perspective? You are the global insider, so to say.
Yes, I would say the view on India from outside the country, particularly from investors into India, has definitely turned around, and in the last 6 months represents a new level of optimism towards the economy.
Growth is slowly beginning to pick up. Inflation has cooled off. Does India become an emerging market darling once again? We were on the radar, we slipped. Are we back on the radar as far as emerging markets are concerned?
Certainly the short-term performance of equity markets would suggest so.
Are equity markets running ahead of macroeconomic fundamentals?
They can sometimes. Hard for me to tell you whether that's the case. Time will tell whether that's true for India or not.
I particularly want to talk to you about this reform thrust of the government. You come from one of the biggest bankers in the world. The question that one would want to ask you at this stage is that given the majority that this government has, are banking sector reforms something that should be high on their radar?
They are high on their radar. We had the fortune of the finance minister presenting to us at a conclave that we had here in Delhi. And he made it fairly clear that if India is going to fund its growth, getting the banks back on track and making sure that their balance sheets are capable of expansion is one of his high priorities.
Would you, if I may take the liberty and ask you a question here, would you believe that reducing government equity in public sector banks is something that the government should be looking at? Experts like Rushni Sharma have voiced that concern. They have said the government needs to get out of banking in a big way.
There's been enough written and discussed on this topic. I'm not sure my views on this would be particularly incremental.
You're particularly here to discuss urbanization in India and the challenges that it throws up. This government is very serious about it. It's talking about smart cities, it's talking about bullet trains, something that hasn't really been said in public space so much. And because you're particularly speaking about this topic, if I may ask you, what are the opportunities and challenges that urbanization in India does throw up?
Urbanization, I would say, would be the greatest opportunity and also one of the big challenges that India is going to face. It's an opportunity because in order to create wealth, it's been fairly demonstrable that as people move from rural areas into cities, there is a wealth effect which takes place. In India and China alone, 500 million people, that's twice the population of the United States, will move from rural areas into cities. The government is right to be very focused on urbanization, but equally, large cities like the one we're standing in right now also have some tremendous challenges. So pooling together best practice is something which would be smart, and I think the government is right to put it right at the top of its agenda.
When you talk about best practices, and I know that's your keynote as well, if I may take the liberty to ask you this question, what are some of the best practices that India can learn from some of the most developed cities in the world?
Hard for me to summarize all of this for you in one sentence, but clearly Urban Age is our attempt at trying to get not just lessons from the developed cities, but indeed a lot of the developing cities. We were in Rio, we were in Mexico City, and the fact is that when you take these very large urban clusters, particularly in the developing world, there's a lot they can share with each other.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.